I'm going to bring a bunch of techniques together when I light on location to create a sort of layered, more dynamic look. It's a little bit more creative, and we're going to use a male model, and we're also going to use a female model to show you kind of how I would light both and make some really dreamy, beautiful images. First of all, I'm going to set my base layer for my ambient light, and let's see, as always, I'm going to have my camera at 1/180th of a second on my shutter speed. I'm at 5.6 on my aperture and 100 ISO. That's usually where I end up when I'm shooting in open shade. This is what I would call open shade. I'm going to put my lens hood on because I'm getting a little bit of flare, which is good to note for later because I'm going to use that to my advantage. Perfect. Now, in terms of where I've gone here for the location, I wanted to find an area with shade to make a dynamic image using ambient light as my base layer. Now, there's a huge advantage to shooting on location because for this shoot, I'm only going to use one light. To do this in the studio, I would need at least two. So I'm using the sun, I'm using a location. Not everyone has a studio. So this is a setup that works really well for anybody. I found an area sheltered from the wind. So my paper backdrop is actually going to survive and not turn into a sail here. I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to light my base layer. So let me have a look at how that feels. I put the lens hood on because that's getting quite a strong flare. And I actually can see the back of the screen really nicely, even though it's so bright out here. And that looks really, really good. So in this case, I've got a lot of light. So my images are going to be a bit brighter. My base layer is going to be a little bit brighter. I'm going to show you how I use my shutter speed. I'm adjusting my aperture, etc., to kind of control the amount of light I have with my ambient light and my artificial light. So I'm going to bring in my model, Fernando. Come over, yeah. And using a male model who looks like this, he's my mate, so I can say that, it's great for demonstrating lighting. Like we can really see, for example, how the light falls under the chin, but also how it applies to a broader area. Good, so let me see how my ambient light feels with you in it. And I'm actually in this location, so I'm in a back alley, right? Everyone has a back alley somewhere in their town. We chose this because it has like a nice corrugated grid background. We've put our olive paper backdrop in front of it, and we're going to kind of layer in some light, and you'll see what we're going to do. But I want to show this because so many of my shooting situations are like not that glamorous. We're not all bathing in champagne. We are slumming it in little street corners and little alleys and making it look glamorous. Perfect. Good. So you could think we've gone to a really industrial backyard. Truth be told, we're just in a back alley near Sue's studio. So my base layer of light looks good. Good. Fernando, you don't have to pose yet. Yeah, good. Just be relaxed. And let me have a look at that through my Hoodman. I use this to insulate the screen so that I can actually see what my picture's doing. Good. And my daylight is really, really soft here. Because I'm in the shadow, I've got my subject in the shade. I'm not in the shade. I'm really, really warm in the sun. But that's the price I pay for being a photographer. The sun is behind us. But if I'm looking around here, the light is bouncing off the ground. It's bouncing off the walls over here. There's a white van over here. It's bouncing around and giving him a really, really soft base layer of light, which means I have complete control over where I want to bring my light in to really give my subject shape. So let's bring a light in. Martin, come on in. Yeah, perfect on this side. The side really doesn't matter at this point. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start experimenting with the shape of the light. Very simple. First thing first, I've checked my ambient light layer and I know it's soft. So when I add the light in, imagine my ambient layer is a full glass of water. When I add my artificial light, I'm going to pour more light onto that glass of water and it will overspill. So what I'm going to do is empty my ambient light glass by let's turn my aperture up to f8. And I want that ambient light to come a little lower, so when I add the light back in, it's not overexposing, right? So I still haven't got the light on, so I'm just going to check my ambient light, turn it down a little bit. Good. Fernando, think happy thoughts. Yes, perfect. You got a That's lovely. Good. And let's see where my artificial light is. And I'm going to walk you through how to choose the direction of your artificial light for something like this. And depending on how we want it to feel. Yeah, perfect, Fernando. That's great. Good. You can move around however you like. Just be silly, that I know you are. We went on a snowboarding trip together, so there was a lot of silliness there. Yes, perfect. Good. All right, so it's looking a little bit bright, the artificial light. I want it to have a little bit less. So tell me where you were at. 3.5. 3.5. And you're going down to 3.0? Good. So the numbers don't really mean anything. Each pack, each light you buy will have a different set of numbers. All it means is you go from 3.5 to 3.0, you're cutting out half a stop of light. That's all it means. So if you went from 3.5 down to 2.5, you're halving the amount of light. So don't get hung up on those numbers. It's just a good thing for us to communicate back and forth. So I know we're going from 3.5 to 3.0, we're cutting out half a stop of light. Good. So let's see how that feels. And right now, we have the bottom of it about eye height. That's where I usually start. In this case, I have a feeling I'm gonna go up and shoot down with the light, just to sculpt our model a little bit. Okay, you can do that little movement again. Yeah, perfect. Let's see how that feels. I'm gonna use my Hoodman. Wonderful. Good, it really does feel very artificial to me still. And there's two things that make light look artificial. The wrong color temperature, which I don't think we have in this case, because it doesn't feel too cold or too warm. You know, it doesn't feel blue or orange in comparison to what we had when we tested our base layer. Or the light's too strong or positioned wrong. So one of the things that's wrong about the position of this light is the sun is actually over on this side. We do have a very, very soft fill ambient layer here, but what we can probably do is bring the light in more overhead our subject. So Martin, you're gonna have to boom it in. And remember, if you don't have a Martin, you can put this on a C-stand. In fact, here it would work. We're just doing this so we can do it a little bit faster. Perfect. And then he still pointed it. That looks so much better. Yeah, it's really good. And you can see, just by bringing that light above, it's creating those shadows in his abs and under his chin. So one of the things we can do is we can bring this where it was to a little bit further away. So it's kind of more pointing this way and maybe a little bit up. But I like to experiment with this, so we're just going to try the different positions of this, because every lighting situation is different, but the principles are gonna be the same. So the position, one of the things that I tell people is the position of this light can exist in 1,000 places around here. And as long as you find one that looks good, that's more important than any of the theory that you've been taught or any of the things that I say. As long as it looks good, that's all that matters. But you have to get into the mindset that this can go into, it's a 360-degree, three-dimensional environment. So we have any option to make this work. So let's see, as we test this out, how it feels. Perfect. It's actually a little bit, feels feathered away from him. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, that actually looks very nice. And actually, Martin, bring it back closer to him and feather it out a little bit. Yeah, so it just feels like there's a bit of sunshine coming from above. We'll see how that feels in there. Good, I like that. That's gonna be our base layer, and then it's a little bit plain, and I wanna make it a little bit more interesting. So let's start with getting the flare back in. So a flare happens when a light source, or the sun, hits the front of your lens and bounces around inside the lens, and it reduces contrast, which is fine. Sometimes it works really nicely. It just makes your, perfect, yeah, I like the way you're doing that, yeah. There's nothing, you can't do anything wrong here, Fernando. Perfect, good. You can do, yeah, we are just getting the light right, so don't worry about it too much. Yeah, that's great. In fact, let's turn the power of the light down a little bit. I want to see if we can just get it to feel like a little touch of light. So we're going to go down another half a stop. Very good. That's great. Good, and it looks much more natural. Let's go down another half a stop. I'm just going to try it out and see. Good, happy thoughts, yeah, good. That looks really natural now. Yes, perfect, good. So I've got a little bit of flare, so the sun is taking out some of my contrast. That's fine, I can just add it back in post. I can use it to my advantage. And then I've got a green gel, and gels are little colored pieces of film that you use. Usually you put it in front of your light to change the temperature of the light. I don't need it this time on my light because I think the temperature of the light is just fine. I'm going to put the gel in front of my lens. That's why I've taken my lens hood off, and I'm going to make it a little bit dreamy by just covering a part of the lens. And then Fernando, take a tiny step this way. Yeah, perfect. And remember, when you move, you can make your feet also move with you. So that's an easy way to kind of have like different feelings going on. Yeah, perfect. I'm just going to cover part of my lens here. Yes, it's great, like a Hercules. Or like Atlas, you know? Atlas, what, he's carrying the Earth? Is that Atlas or is that a toy? Yes, that's great, yeah. Good. Yes, great. Perfect. Yeah. Movement is fantastic, Fernando. Good. So with the gel in front of the lens, I'm going to use my lens hood conveniently to stop it from blowing away. And can I just say it's very warm? That's great. And actually the sun, if you see through these images here, the sun is actually catching on the gel and just giving us that little bit of interest. And I've got another thing that I found in the studio. Phoebe, would you help me with that piece of fabric that we have? And just come around on this side. Yeah, perfect. Bring it to me. And just hang out right where you are. Perfect. Just there, it's perfect. And I'm gonna see if I can have her kind of throw it in here like that. And we can try also, Fernando, take a little step back. Okay. Yeah, perfect. We can also do that in front of her face, and hopefully we can make it look like it's going in slow motion. Just something like that. And then we kind of made a layered image with lots of different stuff going on and a really simple lighting setup as well that just relies on one light. And I actually want to, before we put all of that together, I'm actually just standing here and I'm like, we could do one other thing to make it really interesting. So let's put that down and let's make it feel a little bit more like the sun is also in this shot, because right now we have the sun coming over, but it's not hitting Fernando at all. And I think we could make a really dynamic image really, really easily. And what I'm going to do is let's bring in the light. Here's one I prepared earlier. Let's bring that in. It's one of those things that happens. Yeah, just bring it in on, let's bring it on actually on Phoebe's side. So Phoebe, if you step this way and towards me. Perfect, lovely, good, yeah. And what I want to do is I want to get a highlight on Fernando that feels a little bit like the sun is coming through. And really, I'm here thinking about this as a way of making the light a little bit more sort of textured and giving it a little bit more of a feeling. And then I'm actually going to show you one other thing as well. So what I want to do is I'm going to have that come over the top of the background. We can do that. Perfect. And Phoebe, why don't we put you on the other side? Perfect. That's great. And then just angle it over the top and yeah, perfect. Just have it come over the top, like boom it over the top. He asked if you wanted it straight behind, but that's good because I want it there because that's actually where the sun is coming from, right there. And then that light is gonna, right, Fernando is nodding along, yeah, he can see it. So how do we recreate sunlight? We do that by having a really hard light source, which is, in this case, it's just a head, so the light, in a little reflector dish, which helps us, instead of the light going like everywhere, it helps us just shape the light into a little funnel. And then in front of it, I've put a orange gel to give it a little bit of a sunlight feeling. And the way I build multiple lights together is I'm gonna just fire that light by itself without having this one in the picture. So I can see, remember, I use that analogy of like a half glass and a half glass, and I wanna make sure we add them together properly without overspilling. So that's just turned on. We haven't checked how powerful it is. And we've got to get that to fire. Good, so let's just make sure that's on. I've got my trigger on. And the other one is just pointing at the floor right now, so I know it's not really hitting our subject. So let's see, good, thank you, Martin. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. Good, so that's actually really perfect little learning moment. Well, if you look at this picture here, you can see every fault in our backdrop has been revealed. Now, this is because this is over, it's hanging over the front of the backdrop. So any little crease we have is going to get lit directly, and then the opposite side of the crease is going to have a shadow, so it looks like that garbage picture I just took. Very easy fix. We're going to bring the light up a little bit. Perfect, and we're just going to move it, walk it back a tiny bit. So now, the backdrop, if it had eyes, can't see that light directly, so it's not going to have that horrible, ugly look that we just saw. Let's just have a very static pose. Yeah, give me the abs. There it is. Perfect. We would have used me for this, but I have to shoot, so, you know. Perfect. So now you can see the difference in that image. It doesn't have the ugly, ugly, ugly faults in our backdrop showing as much. Perfect. That's such a marked difference. Just a tiny little feeling. And we have that beautiful backlight that feels like the sun. And before we add the last layer back in, let's build in Phoebe's layer and just try that out. Let's start from behind. Oh, that's cool. One more time. Yeah, really throw it. Yeah. Yes, that's actually really cool. Hang on, let me see how it feels. This is going to be better than I thought. Oh yeah, okay, good. So the sun, that's going to be really cool. Yeah, I hope you're getting as excited watching about how this image is going to come together as, this is cool. I love this stuff. It actually feels like the sun is on you. Good. So let's bring this light back in. But now, because we've got the other light coming from this side, I don't need you to move necessarily. We can just boom it across to the other side of him. Just makes it a little bit easier for you guys so you can see in the camera the model. You don't have to be blocked by my light. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, go for it, Phoebe. Good. Really throw it in there. Hold it by one end. Let's just see how that feels. So now I've added both lights together. And go, Phoebe. Good. Very cool. Good. And Martin, you can probably bring it over a little bit more. Is that heavy to hold? No, I just don't have length. Okay, you don't have the length on this thing. Let me see how it is. Okay, yeah, you can get in a bit more. Remember, the realities of physics always determine how we do this, so I'm not going to torture Martin having to hold this, but I think that's good. Is that all right? Nod for me? Yeah? Okay, good. All right, so Fernando, let's do a little bit less movement. I think you could just kind of do like, as if you're lost in your own little world there. Yeah? Yeah, perfect. Good. Yeah. But you're thinking of good times. Good. Look at me with yeah, perfect. Good. Yeah, you don't have to do so smiling. Yeah. Good. Do a little, Yeah, maybe just like swing your arm around, Fernando. Like, yeah, I'll just like catch it. Yeah, good. Yeah, keep going, Phoebe. Yeah, good. And then let's try it in front of him as well, Phoebe. Do you want to go to the other side, or are you fine there? You're good? Okay, perfect. Let's try that. And then hang on, before we do that, I'm going to add my noise machine here. Crinkle. That actually looks great. Yeah, let's have the fabric, Phoebe. Let's focus on having it spread out a little bit more. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah, okay, ready? I'm gonna hold my gel in front of the lens as well. That's gonna catch the sun. I'm gonna get a bit closer because I really just want the crop from above the waist. Perfect, yeah, Fernando, that's great. Yeah, big eyes, yes, that's great. Perfect, yeah. Yeah, Phoebe, give it some welly there. I don't know if they say that in New Zealand. Yes, good. Fernando, eyes to me. Yeah, good. Yeah, make it like really intense eyes. I think that's gonna be a really good shot. Yeah. Ah, that's not the shot we'll use. Keep going, Phoebe, Phoebe. Yeah, good. Yeah, great. Cool. Yeah, good. And then like look off to things like behind me. You know, you can look at the cameras, whatever, it doesn't matter, yeah. Yes, good. You're having a little dreamy moment. And always flexing. ABF, always be flexing. Yes. Good. Eyes to me there. Yes, perfect, perfect, perfect. Good. And then maybe just stand, lean back ever so slightly, but tuck your stomach in, like flex the core, and then just turn your shoulders to me ever so slightly. Yeah, there, perfect. Yes, good. Without bringing your head back, yeah, perfect. And then flex, 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 yeah, good. There it is, perfect. Not as much with the shoulders. Bring the shoulders away from me. Yeah, good. I haven't even looked at the back of the camera, but I think these are going to be good. Let's see. Ha, just caught it there. Oh, that's amazing, actually. Good, Phoebe. We're going to make this into a throwing class here. This looks incredible. So you can see how I'm just kind of layering the images to give a little bit more interest, and we're using the same thing. We're layering each layer of light. Like there's the sun is one thing, this is another thing just to define the body. Then I'm adding gels at the front there just to give that little bit of mystery, and then I just want to get the fabric throw just right. Little bonus here. So what I'm thinking is maybe we just kind of use two hands. You see how it does that?
Okay,
yeah. It's there a little bit longer. Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, let me try one other thing here. Because I'd love it to be like that. That's actually good. See? Okay. That could work, right? Yeah. You just hold it at the top. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay. All right. Yes, that's good. And dreamy. Lost in your own world. Go, go, go. Abs, abs. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's cool. Keep going, keep going. That's great. Yeah. You're like catching it. Okay. Perfect, Phoebe. Phoebe, you can get in a little closer, actually. Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. She's the makeup artist, you know? It's perfect. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Good. Good. I like... This is good, yeah. Let's see if you turn your feet the other way. Yeah, because then we're going to catch you with the light really nicely. Good, that was really cool. Let's put this, bend your right elbow. Let's see, maybe even just like this, put it behind. Yeah, there we go, perfect. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's actually a little good distracted moment, Fernando. Yeah, yeah, good, 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 good. Good. Phoebe, do you want to try from the other side? Yeah. You don't have to go very far from him. You can come in closer, Phoebe. Yeah, you can be even closer. Yeah, perfect. I'm quite tight on my frame here. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Get it really broad. Let's see. You know what? Why don't you and Martin team up? Martin, have you got a free hand, sort of? No. Like, I'm wondering if you just hold it. Oh yeah, we can just hold it.
And then I can let it go.
You don't have to let it go. You just kind of, Phoebe, from there, you just wiggle it around. All about solutions. Perfect. Oh yeah, and then just up and down. Up high, like over his face. Beautiful. Okay, good. Let's do the same from behind. And you just, Phoebe, Martin, you stay where you are. Yeah, Fernando, duck under. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, keep going. Higher, higher if you can. Yeah, Fernando, that's good. Little eyes to me moment here. Bring that arm in. Yeah, beautiful. That's great. Good. And you're looking at your next meal, not just a shake. Yeah. Sorry to reveal your ab secrets there. Perfect. Keep going, guys. This is really good. Okay, Fernando, just do a little like turning. Yeah, perfect. Like away from me as well. Good. And this gives the client, which is me, lots of options here. Yeah, beautiful. That's great. Cough for me. Yeah, good. Good. Phoebe, you're doing fantastically. Good. I think that's going to be perfect. Wonderful. So I'm going to shoot the same thing with a female subject to show you the differences of how I would get a more kind of less defined and more dreamy image. Again, this might work perfectly on my female subject. I don't have a set rule for how I change my lighting between shooting different people, but I love to kind of experiment and try different things. So we're going to do that next. So let's go right into photographing our lovely Caitlin for this. We've got her like a mermaid dress. Not really, is it? Whatever. It looks beautiful. Perfect. Oh, wow. And so the difference with like this setup is I already see I'm not going to go as contrasty. I want this to be very soft. With Fernando, I was trying to get as much like texture and shadows really highlighting his physique, whereas with Caitlin, the light that I see is so beautiful and soft that I want to really bank and build on that. So let me just give a little check-in on my ambient light, see how that is. I've turned my trigger off so the flash will not fire. And of course I have a little bit of that flare. We'll talk more about that when I review the images. Beautiful and soft. And if you look at her face, let's zoom in on that image. You can see the light is coming almost directly from the front of her and really giving her face shape. So I want to accentuate that. So Martin, let's bring that light in directly over the middle of her. And again, we're going to have it, instead of pointing directly at her, we're going to have it pointing a little bit to the front. I'm going to turn my trigger back on. Beautiful. Lovely. Fantastic. Good, and I think we can fill in a little bit more from the front so we get a catch light. So just walk it towards me a tiny bit. Yeah, perfect. And wrap in towards her. Fantastic, let me take a couple of shots. Caitlin, nice and tall. Maybe turn your body away from me a little bit. Yeah, there, perfect. Not as much, not as much. Yeah, there. Beautiful. And again, for this one, I'm gonna bring those layers of light back in. Absolutely lovely. And again, here, I think my backlight is a little bit too strong. And the other thing I'm noticing with my backlight is I'd love to do a wide shot, but the C-stand is showing. So I'm gonna, we've got it weighed down with a sandbag for safety. And I'm gonna ask Martin, could you just tuck it? We're gonna keep the light in about the same place, sort of coming from the side, but I'm just gonna tuck the C-stand behind set. It's much easier than photoshopping it out afterwards. Perfect. And of course, if I didn't have an assistant, I would just do it myself. But this is a luxury. Perfect. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a perfect, but that certainly makes it. And just tuck the pack back as well so I can get a clean frame here, because I really like the contrast between the green, the olive, and the the olive backdrop, her beautiful dress, lighting up with all the colors. I guess you can't really tell what color it is. It's like a greenish gold, and the red background. Let me just see. With just the backlight, it's really lovely. Yeah, perfect. And that even gives me a little flare, which I don't mind at all. It's a nice clean frame. Good. And did you turn it down at all? Let's go down by a stop. So we're going to halve that light. Perfect. La, 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 la. Yes. That's just a little bit more subtle, and all I'm trying to get is that highlight at the back of her head. Perfect. Good. And then we're going to bring that in directly over her nose. Perfect. And I think what I'm going to want to do is, that feels really, really kind of like a focused light coming from above. So let's see what the difference is when we take the 70, which is a little bit of a smaller light source, and swap it out for a larger, softer light source, and we can really amplify the softness of that light. And then, like we did with Fernando, we're going to bring it all together. So Martin's just going to swap that out. While he does that, it gives me an opportunity to use my secret weapon here and just try some of this. I'm going to test with my ambient light and kind of my lights all the time, because the sun is changing position all the time. Well, technically the Earth is, but beautiful. And just kind of get a sense for my frame. I can use this time while we're switching out lights to kind of get a sense of where I want to go with all of this. Fabulous. It's going to be really, really cool. And I don't mind that flare that I get at the top, which is coming from that light that we've moved behind the backdrop. Actually, while you do that, I'm going to show you how I would fix that flare. It's very simple. We'll just turn the light away from me, just a touch. Perfect. So now the light that Martin's brought in is the same power. Martin, just check the top. It's the diffuser is not on fully. If the diffuser is not on fully, a bit of hard light's going to come out and ruin my entire image. We don't want that. I'm kidding. It's not going to be that bad, but it looks nicer. Perfect. Good. And we'll boom that in overhead. Perfect. And come a little this way. You don't have to boom it as far. Just want to see how that feels. Beautiful. That's just a little bit softer, and it just adds a little bit of a touch of definition. So Martin, I just want to show what we do. So just turn it off, your light. Okay. So I just want to show you what happens when we don't have it, and then bring it back in. And that's just our backlight firing compared to when we do have it. And you can see there's not much that it's doing, apart from it is giving her dress and her face the subtlest amount of shape. So let's turn that light back up. And the reason we need to turn the light back up is because this light source is bigger. So the light has more to travel, so the same amount of light is spreading out over a larger area, and therefore by the time it hits Caitlin, it's not as powerful. So we're going to turn it up. Let's try a stop. So we're doubling the amount of light. I have this ready. Let's go. Just see what effect we create here. Lovely. Oh yeah. Good. You can really tell the difference there. Let's feather it a bit. So you're pointing it at the floor in front of her. You can go a little closer to her. Caitlin, from where you are, just nod. Can you see that without looking up? Okay, perfect. If she can see the front of it, it's going to hit into her eyes a little bit. That's beautiful. When I add the layers of fabric and my green gel, it's going to make this really kind of interesting, complicated, complex, layered image. And we're going to have the movement and the light and everything together. So by bringing in this bigger, broader light source, it complements a more softer feeling. So it's literally a bigger light source, it's softer. When we were photographing Fernando, we wanted a smaller, harder light source to really chisel his features. And with Caitlin, we have like the soft hair with all the, look at the color palette, it's soft, it's all blending together really beautifully. So I'm gonna be inspired by that kind of thing. And for me as a photographer, I'm much more into going off those kind of qualities than thinking about it in any more technical sense. You know, it's not, oh, women are softer features, blah, blah, blah. It's not, that's not what I'm going for. Like when she turned up on set, I was like, this is gonna be a softer feeling image. So let's light it in a more soft way with a larger modifier. Perfect. So let's, I've recruited Fernando and Phoebe. They're gonna help me with the fabric. We've devised a kind of mermaid-inspired method here to, it's really the waves of the sea, guys. The wave, yeah. Perfect. And Caitlin's gonna get into it and she's gonna pretend there isn't a bunch of people throwing fabric around. Okay, and I'm gonna get a little closer. Actually, let me get full body on this, yeah. Perfect, 1, 2, 3, go. So just, guys, just, Fernando, if you grab the bottom of that front one, yeah, just the bottom of it, then it's not gonna be as broad on the image. Yeah, perfect. Good, yes, Caitlin, that's beautiful, good. Go for it, guys. Lots of movement, yes, beautiful. And remember, that fabric is also being lit up when I take this picture. Beautiful, Caitlin, just your hair a little bit, let's see. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. That's great. Good. Let me see how that feels. Lovely. That's really cool. Very nice and soft. Good. So let me just, I think we can shape Caitlin's face a little bit. So Martin, do the same thing, but let's bring it back up where it was. Good. So if we want the light to come from the side, what do? We bring the light in more from the side. So just bring it over that way, and you can dip your side down. So it's a little bit more directional like this. Like dip your side down so that the front of the modifier comes up a bit higher, and come in a little bit closer. Perfect. So that's going to be a little bit more directional. Beautiful. And with the fabrics, just go a little bit slower. And I'm wondering if I can make it a little bit moodier, and I want to cut out a little bit of the ambient light. Currently I'm at f8. I'm at 180th of a second on my shutter speed, and at ISO 100. So I can't really go anywhere with my shutter speed, because if I go faster, I'll show you what happens. Don't have to move those. I get my black line on the left there, where the light isn't quite syncing up with my shutter speed. It's called my sync speed. I've exceeded my fastest sync speed. Watch the sync speed video if you want to understand that. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my aperture up to 11. So I'm cutting out a stop of light, but I'm cutting out from everything, including my flashes. So I'm going to see how that feels. Go ahead. Yeah, do that nice and slowly on those, guys. That's good. Oh, it's gorgeous. Good, and we can turn, let's turn our light up half a stop. So I've halved the amount of light on the whole picture. So all it means, I've turned the exposure down, basically, one stop. And now I've added my artificial light half a stop again to make it a little bit more prominent. That should give it a little bit more of a contrasty feel. And it does. This is going to be beautiful, guys. Good. And so I think the back one can be really like high. So synchronize that one. Yes, perfect. And then the front one should be more of a wave. So that's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And Caitlin, take a tiny step this way. This is going to be so brilliant. And it's a really layered, beautiful layered look. Let me get this in front of the lens. And I'm covering kind of half the lens, just you can see when in the pictures kind of where it is directly. Caitlin, good. Super strong eyes for me, Caitlin. Yeah, turn your shoulders away from me. Sorry, other way, other way. Yes, beautiful. Yeah, good. And just stand facing me, Caitlin? Beautiful, yeah, and drop both hands. Maybe, yes, beautiful. And that one can be like, more like that. Yeah, perfect, that's good, yeah. Fantastic. Keep going, guys. Yeah, you're doing it perfect. Perfect there, yes, great. Cover her face, no, kidding. Good, it's really gonna be beautiful, guys. Let's get the front one to be less, oh, that's perfect, good. I'm also gonna shoot a lot of this for plates so I could composite it in afterwards. Beautiful, Caitlin. Let's bring that foot like that so we have it less up and more out. Yes, perfect. Yeah, like halfway, perfect. Good. Caitlin, bring your chin up. Perfect, yes, feel it, Caitlin. Beautiful, yes, that's great. Fantastic, this is gonna be amazing. Good, and I'm getting a little bit of the background in. Hang on, let me see how that feels. Make sure I got it all right. Oh yeah. Okay, and then let's drop the front fabric and just use the back one. And I've got my light styled in, I'm really happy. I'm just gonna get the shots now. Perfect. All right, and go. Nice and tall on that guy, yeah. Beautiful. Caitlin, feel it, feel it, feel it, like you, yes, there it is, perfect. Not everyone responds to the, I want you to feel the shot, but Caitlin knows what I mean, and it's just like that bit of energy you ask your subject to give, which really makes it work beautifully. Okay, wonderful. Let's do that pose we had. That was, yeah, that one, and then just with the hand, because I really like that. It's very strong. Okay, one more time, guys. Good. Perfect. Beautiful, Caitlin. Yeah, great. Just feel it like your strength. Yeah, perfect. There. Wonderful. Beautiful. Good. I think we definitely have that. Absolutely lovely. Thank you guys for the hard work there on the waves. Thank you, Martin. So, you know, I'm just gonna let myself be inspired by the styling. One other thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a clean shot without the lights because the modifier was blocking the top of the frame. I think I wanna show a frame, a clean frame, and I just take an empty shot and I can composite that in really, really easily. So the little subtle differences between photographing a male subject and a female subject, I look at this as kind of a combination of a lot of the things that we've gone over in the series and just play around with building these layers of light. You can do this pretty much anywhere. You don't need to have a studio. Find a space sheltered from the wind and mess around with your friends. Find some other photographers to experiment with. This is a really versatile setup. And the reason I'm using this is because I've found really nice light in the shade. Most times you find shade in a beautiful sunny day like this. It's such a great base layer to build a lighting setup from. From the layered setup, I just wanted to show you a couple of things I had in mind as I was shooting. You know, I'm always envisioning the post-production process as well when I'm shooting, and that obviously for some images has a lot that plays into it. So a couple of things I wanted to just mention. Remember I showed you what happens when I have the lens hood on and when I don't have it on and getting that flare. And the other thing, I took it off so that I could get the gel right up against the front of the lens element. You know, if it's too far away, it just looks like a hard line. So here we have two images that on the right, the one of Caitlin, has that flare coming in from the sun. And what that does is light bounces into the lens and bounces all around and ends up on the sensor. And what happens is it loses the contrast. So it brings up the whole image becomes a little bit brighter in the shadows. Whereas in the image on the left of Fernando, you can see there's still some contrast. So I have the choice in Caitlin's image. I actually kind of like this feeling, but let me show you what happens as I bring the contrast back in. It just starts to feel kind of like we didn't have a lens flare in it, and that's totally fine. So I always have the choice to bring it back in. I'm gonna leave it out in this case, have it here at -12. And let me just walk you through kind of my post-production raw processing thought process. I like this image. I chose it because he has that highlight in the hair. It looks like natural light and it just has that little bit of something extra. Gives it a little bit of movement here. And he has that highlight also on the fabric that was being thrown so excellently by Phoebe. I brought my exposure up
just a tad. It's a little bit underexposed. Nothing new there. Brought in a bit of contrast just to make it, look how it makes his face pop. And that's because we have light on his face, and it just, as you add that contrast, it's like literally a slider for how defined are his muscles and how much face has his shape got. And that really is one of the reasons that lighting is so magical, because it helps you define the face. I'm not going to play too much with the shadows or the highlights because I have something in mind for going into post-production. There's not really much else here. I changed my white balance. This is how it was shot, just a little cooler. And I just warmed it up a little bit to get those highlights to pop out. And my base characteristics, that's how the software interprets the raw file. I've given myself a little bit of extra shadows that removes some of the contrast because your shadows are not as hard, but it gives me a better layer of light to start from. So that's where I'd always start, and each camera has its own, and you can experiment with those. And in my color editor, I just made some adjustments to the green that don't really do too much in this case. I just shifted the hue over to a bit more of a greenish tint. It's a very subtle effect. And my yellows as well, I did very little, just a tiny little bit. So let me take this to Photoshop along with Caitlin's image, so I'll just walk you through that one. Let me show you where we were. This is the full crop, and I just wanted to kind of bring it in a little bit tighter. Again, I'm bringing in Film Extra Shadow. I have a custom white balance that's just a little bit warmer. And again, this contrast is really lacking in this image because, well, because I took it away here on the left, I took it to -12. I also upped the exposure from what it was, just because that kind of feels a little bit better. Look at the highlight, it's not burnt out yet. That's the modifier, I'm gonna get rid of it. But we have the gel in the front here. It's got all these sun flares as the light is hitting the gel. The sun is hitting the gel directly. This is being lit up by the light from, remember what we had over the backdrop? So this is a really interesting layered image. As I said, when we bring the contrast back in, it gets a little bit more punchy, but I always have the choice of doing that in Photoshop. So there's not much more I did here, but playing with a color temperature on a setup like this is really, really powerful because we've already got, remember we have that olive-colored backdrop, we have the olive-colored gel, we have that green, those green pieces of fabric, the dress, everything is working together to make a sort of color monochrome. So we've really worked to balance the colors in this image, and that's it's a good trick because if you do that, you have so much control on your post-production, and all the colors are shifting together when I shift my white balance because they're already sort of in the same place. That really helps me to control the color feeling. And remember also, remember we were talking about the positioning of the light. With Fernando, we were lighting more from the top to highlight kind of the contrast on him. And for Caitlin, we were filling in a lot more. We were getting a lot more soft light on her with that bigger modifier. So the flare is helping me to achieve the same thing. And again, I'm inspired by the dress and the feeling and the hair and everything that work together to make a less contrasty image. So I'm going to export these as TIFFs to, I'll put them on the desktop. Let me call it Fernando and Caitlin. And then process those. I'm going to open them in Photoshop. Let me go to the desktop here. Lovely. Let me make this full screen. All right, thank you, Photoshop. You're really trying very hard. Good. All right, so I'm going to pop into my layers here. I'm just going to duplicate my layer so I have that. And I'm going to head over to my gradient map. So I'm going to select gradient map. And I'm going to select this one, the purple to blue. Let me reverse. Oh, no, not reverse. And I'm going to change the opacity on this. Let's slide it down. Look at that. That's beautiful. Like, that's a really dreamy image. And I could probably even, let's see, we have a green tone. So red to green is probably a bit too hard. We can select here the color we want. Let me see if I take it from closer to where the green is, perfect, to little bit more yellow. See, we stay in that green space, lovely. And I'm just gonna, that's good, thank you. So if I toggle that on and off, you see it just kind of starts to take on that monochrome feel. I'm gonna bring that down to like 10%, 15%, something like that. And just, it brings all the colors even closer together to a kind of a color monochrome. And then I can add my contrast back in, just like that. Beautiful. And you see how the colors just react? That's beautiful. So it just has, look what happens as let me make this a little bit bigger. Look what happens as I bring in my gradient map where we've brought all the colors towards that, closer to that green, is it just gets dreamy. The whole thing kind of comes together in that creamy, greeny kind of vibe that is actually kind of nice. So with the contrast added in and the gradient map, that's what I had envisioned for this layered setup. And the gradient map is really great for creating these like color monochrome images. And by color monochrome, I really mean an image that doesn't have too much of a range of color. So we're very much in the greens and the yellows there. So let me try the same thing. I'm going to copy those layers over. Let me just start with that. I think I'm going to change it a little bit. Probably get away with a little bit more. That's probably a bit too hard. Because this image is contrasty, it's going to have a little different, bit of a different feeling. That's nice. It's a little bit too orange for me, so let me just change the orange color. Something more. That's probably kind of cool. You see, it starts to feel like we meant to live in this space that we're in now. And I don't think I need to do too much to the curves, but oh yeah, that burns out. See, it already has a lot of contrast, so when I add contrast, it just doesn't quite need it. And then I'm just for fun, let's see what happens when I make this into a black and white with a little bit more contrast. Now I'm just playing around. Lovely. So he starts to, you see, we have nice light, so there's so much we can do, but this, that was just a little sidetrack there. But just bringing in this, this gradient map brings the image into kind of like this more otherworldly vibe that we had started with. And something like this that's a little bit more dreamy, we can afford to experiment in this way and kind of go a little bit further with than I otherwise would. So that's where I'm kind of thinking of going with this. I'm going to save these just for fun and get this to retouching.